Hello, this is this program that I made. It is a crossword generation program, so it generates dense crosswords like New York Times style crosswords. So here's an example, right? So if I run it, it will output a crossword um, based on this list of words here. And right now it's only sampling from like the first 20,000 words that are actually compatible with the slots of the crossword puzzle. Um, but It was pretty technically challenging. Um, it's much easier to do a sparse crossword puzzle because there's virtually no constraints compared to this, where there are just so many intersections that it's actually surprisingly difficult. Like you can't just do a naive, uh, you know, like depth first search kind of thing where you place a word, then place a word, then place a word, just randomly placing words that are compatible. And then if you encounter a contradiction or there are no words that now fit the constraints, just backtracking. That will not work because you could be placing a word on, say, your fifth word placed, and then you're placing words at different positions. Let's say you're randomly choosing which positions to choose to place the words in. Um, then, if you place them randomly like that, uh, you could have caused an issue to happen without knowing it on step 5 that you'll only encounter as things are being placed by like step 20, let's say, where you realize, oh, there are actually no ways for that to work. Um, and if that happens, then it'll backtrack to step 19, and then it'll like place this one again, and then try placing that again. And oh, it also doesn't work. Also doesn't work. So it'll keep going 19, 20, backtrack to 19. Okay, try something else. Go to 20, doesn't work. Backtrack to 19 until it iterates through every possible slot to fill for step 19, and then finally backtrack to step 18. And it's just never going to come back to step 5 because there are just too many combinations. There's a combinatorial explosion of possibilities between the cause of the problem and when you see the symptom. So you need to do it a little bit smarter than that. So the next thing you think is, okay, how do I optimize where I place the next word? So then you get into uh, this kind of thing here. The most common value and least common value, or it might be most constrained. It's been a few months since I worked on this, but I think it's most constrained value and least constraining value. But what it means here is, let's say you place a few words here, like prep and press, or I don't know how do you pronounce that, but you place a couple words there, then this slot here might have almost no possibilities left, um, or it might have quite a bit. But let's say you place a bunch, and then there's one slot that has only one possibility. Of course, then you should place that one next. You shouldn't place something else because that's something else, like if you place this one here, it might cause that one possibility to then be invalid. So you should choose the position that is most constrained first out of the positions that you can choose to enter a word. And then you should give it what word should you put in there if there are multiple choices. Like if there are 100 different choices for the word that you can put in here, how do you choose which one? 100 different choices being like 100 different possibilities that are compatible with what's in there so far. So to choose that, you should choose the one that is the least constraining value to put in there, the least constraining word, meaning if you consider the space of all possible puzzles, um, it should reduce that space by the least amount possible. It should keep the most options available for all the other words. So what does that mean? Um, well, I ended up doing something modeling probability, like what is the probability that this is a valid puzzle or that we're going to uh, be able to generate a valid puzzle. I don't remember the exact details by now, it's been a while, but So you're using that kind of thing. Um, it's like a constraint satisfaction problem solving technique. Okay, and then beyond that, because that's also not enough, you then need to look at, uh, okay, like there are kind of different regions of the puzzle. Like you can see these here, or maybe I can go to a dense crossword puzzle. Okay, here, for example, you can see, well, no, let's do like this one. So you can see this is kind of its own region here. This is kind of its own region. 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 Yeah, they are connected through here, but if you imagine this were totally blocked off with black squares, then whatever you put here has no causal influence on what you can put here. So then my strategy was, okay, let's see, what if we placed these words here first, all the words that connect one region to another region. Um, and then, after you've placed those words, you've decomposed the problem into two independently solvable parts, like everything out here and what's in here. Um, and if you extend this idea and think more about it and what you should do, you can model the crossword puzzle as a graph where the intersections are edges between nodes, being the words. Or it might have even been intersections. Yeah, that's what it is. Um, and on that graph, you pretty much want to find the minimum vertex cut. So with each entry being a vertex, what is the minimum number of entries you can remove to make the graph disconnected? So that's what I did here. Let's see, where is that? Graph theory, uh, find cut, right? So that's what I'm doing here. Um, and I'm doing cuts of size 1 to 3, or I guess 1 to 2. I think just experimentally I found out that you only need cuts from size 1 to 2, at least for the setup I had. The setup, the positions of the black spots are determined before anything else. That's just hard coded in here in the generate info. The black spot coordinates are just hard coded in there. Um, so you can actually change, like I can change this to 13 and then comment out this. And now if I run it, now see this was a puzzle 15 wide, now it's 13 wide with this different black spot positions. There's some weirder words here, but anyways, yeah, is that it? Maybe I should talk a little bit more about this. Yeah, so there's a parallel part. So let's see. Um, I store the domains. Um, so I store the set of all possible words for each position, for each entry. And as words are being filled in, that domain is being reduced because there are fewer possible words for each position. And I also have a thing here where I'm using concurrency. So what I do is I decompose the graph into independently solvable parts by finding the minimum vertex cut of that graph, by filling in words that uh, cause regions to be independently solvable first, and then I recurse on those parts on separate threads and have them solve independently. And if one of them encounters an issue, it raises a flag to stop all the other threads from executing and goes, okay, we need to backtrack. So now we're going to backtrack and replace these words, which is not so common when you're only doing a few cuts. But if you then are like subdividing regions that are already fairly small, then it gets into that being more relevant. But yeah, I think that's a good overview of this project. So yeah,